Welcome to the first PS398 Walter Weaver Exhibition Day, our demonstration of critical teaching and learning. We are so glad that you could make it and join us this morning as we culminate and demonstrate the high-level, standards-bearing teaching and learning work we have done throughout this year. We are so glad that you have taken the time to join us. We are showing what happens when schools, good morning, welcome, good morning, when schools, CBOs, and partners get together to make sure that we join hands to increase the teaching and learning that can occur in our settings. Today is going to be a wonderful day, one in which we show the work that we have been doing at PS398. And we will start right away. My name is Elma Powell. I am the Senior Executive Director at Empire Strategic Education Consultants, and I have had the pleasure, the simple pleasure, of working with my partners at PS398 for approximately 4 years as we have endeavored to help children increase what they can do and be proud members of the community of learners. I would like to introduce to you my partners in crime in learning. They are Principal Bass, Assistant Principal Daley, Miss Jones, Miss Michael, Miss Perkins, Mr. McCarthy,
Good morning, everyone.
Miss Dasher,
Good morning.
and Miss Chatman.
Good morning.
Empire Strategic Education Consultants is a company, a group of people who have decided that we do not settle for less. We work with schools and school communities. We work with community-based organizations to make sure and ensure that learning takes place at the highest levels possible. And Principal Bass, knowing that that is her highest level of decision-making, said this is what she wants to do. And when she saw what we were doing, she asked my CEO and my partner, Professor Taliba Daniel, to come to her school and make that happen. So may I introduce to you my other partner in crime, Professor Taliba Daniel, who is a professor of graduate education. She has grown many leaders in New York City public schools and continues to grow them and design programs for leadership education. Professor Daniel, would you please say a word? We are going to begin our journey showing the excellence in education that we have embarked upon this year with our roundtable of teacher discussion. We will have some questions for our grade team leaders. This year, Ms. Bass and Ms. Daley created a forum for their grade team leaders to be able to improve and enhance their learning. At PS398, the structure is one where grade team leaders work with their grade teams, early childhood, primary, and upper grades, to look at explicit instruction, the standards and all different best practices to make sure that all of this is aligned. And when teachers are looking at best practices, how it becomes part of their teaching and learning based upon the different levels that they are teaching. But they also knew that without the grade team leaders being supported in what they had to do, this would not happen in the classroom. So the grade team leaders, Ms. Bass, Ms. Daley, and myself, worked together this year to help them decide what they needed to enhance their practice. We worked together, and then they worked with their grade teams. And then every single week, we met with the grade teams and the entire staff to keep enhancing our learning. So this morning you will hear from the grade team leaders as they talk about their journey. We will start off by asking some questions. My dear partners, my dear educators, how do you ensure that your teaching aligns with grade level standards? Ms. Chatman, take some time, think about that question, and share your thoughts with us, please.
Okay, the way I make sure that my teachers align with the grade level standards, I analyze the standard, I break it down, I look for all the things that the children need to learn, and I plan my lesson plans according to them. I give explicit instruction. I do the I do, we do, where once I teach the lesson, I'll do a model, we'll do a model together, and the children will do it alone by themselves.
Ms. McCarthy, what is your answer to that question?
I'd like to add on, and firstly, good morning, everyone. I think what I've learned was using the standard analysis has really helped me this year with my teaching. In the past, we always use standards, obviously, well-educated standards. We would write our lessons. In the past, the standard would just be plugged in. Now we break down the standard. We really analyze it. We break it down with the verbs and the nouns and really understand it. We use that then to drive our instruction. We use that to implement our independent practices. We include the tier 1, 2, and 3 vocabulary, which is always a struggle for kids. I've learned through my years of teaching. I've also learned now, through the standard now, I'm able to, as I said, create meaningful lessons for my students and meaningful independent practices where the kids have different and multiple entry points in the lesson. I've also learned, while I'm doing that, to look to see who's approaching the standard, who's exceeding the standard, who's on proficiency, and I'm able to do that. That helps drive my instruction.
Ms. Dasher, you'd like to add?
So, how do I would like you to repeat the question
I
one more
can.
time.
How do you ensure that your teaching aligns with grade level standards?
Okay, so as my colleagues already said, I do analyze the standards. I make sure to check the crosswalks to ensure that my students have the prerequisite skills to even engage in the lesson. And then I use the data in tandem with another assessment to ensure that when I create my lesson and my teaching point, not only does it align with the standard, but it ensures that all students have an entry point into the lesson. I also work very hard on success criteria, making sure that my students are aware of the success criteria, and by the end of the lesson, they are able to explain how they have met that success criteria.
Ms. Jones, you have grade 5. How does that manifest itself in grade 5?
Pretty much I was going to piggyback off of what all my colleagues said. But the number one thing that I learned this year was, the number one thing that I learned this year was to actually look at the crosswalk. Especially coming from a lower grade and going to the higher grade, I need to know what they need, what they have already learned or what they should have, know by the time they get to 5th grade. So once I see what they have already learned, I also look at what they need to learn, so I know what my goal is. So I use those standards, the NGL standards, to not only for assessments, but to create goals for my kids. By the end of the lesson, we will know what they have learned, what they should have learned, and you can pretty much see where they're going.
Ms. Perkins, you have a special ed group of children. You have challenges. Talk to us about how you would answer that question for your specific group of students. Please speak louder.
For my class, my special education students, I use my standard as a guiding point. I call it my guidance for whatever I'm planning for my students with differentiation, and if I can go up or if I should come down to meet their needs. And I think while looking at my standards and aligning with my teaching, I use it for multiple things while I'm planning. So planning my lesson, for my grouping, planning, my assessments to make sure that my students are meeting each standards that we are about to work on.
So, as a new teacher, Ms. Michael, you learned how to analyze standards. Speak to us about how you ensure your teaching aligns. How has analyzing standards helped you?
Well, I think that you have done a great job with teaching us how to break down the standards. So that has been a starting point for me building all of my lessons and all of my instruction. I think, I know that knowing what students need to be proficient in and knowing what students need to master, it has helped to build the framework of the lessons, and it has helped me explicitly teach my kids with fidelity.
That challenge the way that you believe your students learn. Correct? Okay.
I'm just say I'll go. What do you want to say? I'll go.
Well, I will,
Say I'll go.
I'll go, yes, because the data initially showed that my tier 1 instruction needed to be adjusted and shifted. And with that, I was able to take that knowledge and begin to shift my pedagogical practices and the curriculum in ways that we introduced fluency drills, more visual aids, the explicit instruction. We honed in on that. Explicit vocabulary instruction to improve our students' comprehension. Making sure that phonics and phonemic awareness wasn't just about listening, that we added movement and we made sure that we taught it with fidelity. So I would like to personally say that I realized that while all of our data is not out yet for the end of the year, these shifts have been working because we have seen major growth in students' phonics and phonemic awareness skills. I believe, I don't know if any of my other colleagues would like to chime in or, add to that, but I definitely am aware of the change that students needed to support growth. So yes.
I'd like to chime in. I think, I understand the question. I used to do turn and talk with my students. And then, we used to do turn and talk with the students, and after working with those guys, how the think, pair, share model. And I found when there was turn and talk, the kids would just turn and talk. I'd hear conversations about Minecraft. It wouldn't be meaningful conversation that I was looking for. And then we added that think part. So now when I pose the rich question that would engage in conversation, I told the kids, sit and think about what you're hearing. What is your answer? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What do you want to tell people? And then I would kind of say it a couple of different ways so everybody could understand the question with the entry points. And then it was like, okay, now we're going to pair. Now they would turn and they would talk with their partner. And then they would have the conversation. I'd walk around the classroom, I'd be jotting down information, see who's understanding the question, who's proficient, who's approaching, where do I need to go? Then they loved the share part, when they'd get up and they'd be able to share their idea and share the floor and tell everybody what they thought, what they felt, what they learned. and you just saw the confidence grow in the kids. And I've also learned now, like, pushing away from so much dominating teacher talk, letting the kids have ownership in lessons, let them talk, because they have a lot to say. They want to share it with you. When you guys come to my room today, you'll see my kids can talk, and if they're focused, they talk about online too. They stay on point. So that would be my thing that I'd like to say.
I would like to add on or
Yes.
continue Mr. McCarthy's thought. I think that our principals and Ms. Powell has placed such an emphasis on the independent student practice. And I think as a new teacher and you're seeing where your students are, we have a large population of tier 2 and tier 3 students. So as a new teacher, my first thought is to guide them through all parts of the lesson. But in practice, I've realized how important the independent student practice is because it yields such great results. Like, I think the only bad thing about independent student practice is that I'm frustrated because you're not getting where I need you to be when I want you to be there, but that's not what learning is about. So the shift for me was letting my kids just go and really go through that productive struggle, and they begin to talk and they have more vocabulary, and it's just yielding great results for my classroom as a new teacher to see them be independent in their learning.
I want to add on to my colleagues that I also realize giving feedback when you sit down and have conversations with the children and you listen to what they're telling you on how they're understanding things also help you give the feedback for them to be able to take over their learning for themselves and be more independent and confident in what they are learning in their work. And they actually are very proud once they get it because they're like jumping up, see, look what I did. And you know, you get that confidence. But I agree with Mrs. Michaels to say that sometimes it is a little hard for you to let go of the reins because you're so used to being, let me help you. But once you give them that feedback and you see that they understand the task and understand what they need to do, they take that independent work and do it for themselves.
Yes, I'd like to add.
How about
I would also like to add that my students as a special education community, my classroom, I have learned that, taking an assessment, formative, summative, I thought, thinking from my own assumption that I have to read for them and they have to follow on the paper, but I have learned in this year that my kids can use technology to take the test, and it was a better outcome than the paper assessments.
Yes. One of the hardest things for me, and one of the things that I did realize, like each and every one of them said, was giving the kids, allowing them to be independent. My classroom was very teacher-led because I felt like my voice was the one that was supposed to be heard. Even in the beginning of maybe this year and years before, I came from a era where kids were not learning if they were talking, because I didn't think of their talk as productive talk. So even like with the Think, Hear, and Share, I realized that they are having this. I didn't even have faith that they were going to stay on task with Think, Hear, and Share. I was actually like, oh my goodness, this just gives them time to have personal conversation about different things. But if you're monitoring correctly, you can, even if they're off task, you can kind of go back over to them and say, well, you need to be, stay on task. But that was one of my biggest growth for this year was the Think, Hear, and Share. Allowing the kids to have discussion, allowing them to learn from one another. And certain students you realize that are not comfortable speaking in a large crowd, they were comfortable speaking with their partners because many of them had pretty much the same Think and Hear, Share partners. So they felt comfortable listening and learning from one another.
So we gave you a challenge at the beginning of this year. We told you that as team leaders, you had to learn to be leaders, and we would support you in that growth. How have you seen your growth as a leader? Where were you when we first entered room 171? Oh my goodness, Miss Chatman is laughing. And who are you now as a leader? No life jacket just threw you in. Okay, so I'll let you go last. Or just no. So who are you now as a grade team leader? How would you categorize yourself? How would you describe yourself? Briefly. Because my team leaders can talk right away. Briefly. Share with us.
I will start since you said I was smiling. To be honest, when I was first, I felt like I was kind of put in the position, and I was hesitant, very hesitant. And I must say, I spoke to my administration. I was like, I don't want to do this. But I came in, and Ms. Powell couldn't vouch for me and my facial expressions as we would come in. But I see myself, I've grown to be more open, listen more, and if I want someone to hear what I have to say, I do have to hear what they have to say and understand where they're coming from, and then come in with, I can say you have taught me a much better approach on how to speak and step up and lead someone and give them guidance. So that's my beginning.
I would like to chime in. This experience taught me that I can actually be a learner and a leader at the same time. It taught me that I am capable of leading adults, which is one of the most hardest things that a person can do. And I'm sure admin can attest to that. It taught me not to be so afraid of public speaking. I know that I'm containing myself right now. However, in the inside, there's a lot happening right now. And I am grateful for the opportunity from both the admin as well as you, Ms. Powell, because I hope that we can continue this, because I've learned so much about myself and the teachers that I work with. I learned that I have way more growing to do, and I am excited that with this growth, I can pay it forward to the teachers that are coming up at PS 398.
Go ahead, Ms. Perkins.
I would like to add on. Yes, I would also like to add that for me, my growth professionally, it has made me learn how to be prepared. As a team leader, I had to be prepared. I know, Ms. Powell would say, Ms. Perkins, you can only lead if you are always ready.
That's right.
If you're ready to lead your team, whatever the discussion is, I try to read up on it and get ready and be able to be flexible with my students. So I have learned that being prepared helped me in a multiple of ways, and be ready for my own self, because I'm always going.
Ms. Jones, go ahead.
So one thing that the growth that I've seen is patience. When I first started, being a grade leader, I thought you just delivered the message. Because I thought these are adults. They should know. I brought it to them. They should know. But I didn't realize that I had to... I had to almost treat it as if it was my classroom. Even certain situations, explicit instruction. I had to... I do model it. I have to sometimes guide them, and then... It was just the same way as teaching students, and I didn't even realize that. Like I said, when I first came into the role, I thought Ms. Powell explained it to me. Now I'm going to go just explain it to you, and you guys should know what to do. So I realized that it gave me patience. It gave me, I also had to, I think I just lost my train of thought. It taught me patience, and it gave me more of, collaborating with more of my staff. So normally, I have a co-teacher, so we're working together, and that's usually in that just between me and her, or maybe Miss Iceland. So even working with the 4th grade, I saw things in their curriculum and things that they had to do, and I even had to learn what they were, what was expected of them as well. So it wasn't just a 5th grade thing. I was able to experience what fourth grade expectations. So I do thank you guys for allowing, me to play that role within the school, or even trusting me to take on that role.
I'd like to say, Ms. Powell, you pushed us out of our comfort zone.
Okay.
You made us do things that then you heard everyone just say that we are not used to doing. Giving directions to adults. That's not an easy thing. We spoke about that. So you pushed us out of our comfort zone. But we had two choices: fall or rise up. And I think we rise up.
Yeah.
I would like to say confidence
Yeah.
is what I got. I'd like to thank administration because they've helped. They brought you in to help us. They've always been supportive of us. They've given us resources that we need. Ms. Vance does her weekly review every week and lets us know exactly what we're responsible for every week, what's coming up, keeps us focused. She's got a little tidbit on the side with explicit instruction. There's articles, there's always stuff going on to help improve our craft. And we thank you both for that. They've always had open doors.
Yes.
Being a leader, I've learned that you got to practice what you preach. You sit here, okay, I know how to do this, but now I got to do this. I got to go in front of my class. It's very easy to tell you what to do, but I got to be able to do it. And I think it helped build camaraderie among us. I mean, we'd go to the meetings, and we would laugh, we would talk, we would vent. It brought us together as a unit, and I think ultimately made the school stronger. So I feel more confident myself that I can drive instruction. I've been teaching for many years, and I'm still learning. I never broke down standards like you showed us. I've been doing it forever. I wish I would have known that 20-something years ago, but I didn't. But I know it now, and I'm improving what I got now. So thank you all.
Ms. Michael.
Okay. I'm a new teacher, so just for a little bit of background, I filled in for Mr. McCarthy one day when he was out, and then they just kept bringing me back.
You're doing a great job.
I'm here now, and I would say I've learned to handle multiple professional tasks at one time. I'm never, so you can ask my mom, she's over there. I'm never somebody who I can't do multiple things at once, especially multiple tasking things at once. And so I feel like with this position, I've learned how to just kind of divide and conquer. I also feel like my ability to problem solve has increased. I think working collaboratively is something that I have struggled with. And so just giving part of my grade team the tools that they need and just having them do, even though there are tasks that we need to come together as one. I think that letting people do their individual parts is a struggle for me because I like to do all the parts. But that's just what leaders have to do, And also, I do want to thank Ms. Powell and my principals for seeing something in me that a new teacher could sit amongst leaders and like tenured teachers. So I'm appreciative for what you all have seen in me and the opportunities that you've given me in 398. I'm very thankful. Yeah, I'm gonna stop. Point
that you created increased teacher capacity in your teams that you.
Nothing. Well, I think what I've learned was conversation. Conversation is so important. That we, as teacher teams, we talk. We always are having conversations about what we're doing, what's working, and best practices. We've done a lot of best practices. We've also done classroom visitations where we visit each other's classrooms and see, you know what, Stash is doing this really well. We're going to stop in and see what she's doing. How can I learn from that? How can I then share that and take that and then spread it on to the people that I work with? So I would say that is something.
That's a lot.
Okay, go ahead, next person.
I would like you to repeat that question again. Oh no, wait. Can anybody else?
So the question was, how have you built teacher capacity among your team?
Capacity.
Okay. Okay. So, I'm going to try to tap into this to the best of my understanding. I want to say their performance. And, okay, their performance. At PS 398, we're very transparent. Their data shows that they are embracing the strategies and the best practices that I have, well, put forth based on my coaching and the things that we have been learning together. I see it in the way that they collaborate now. So now it's not just one kindergarten class here and another kindergarten class. They are now collaborating and using the strategies and best practices that we have discussed and practiced as adults and then implement it into the classroom. I want to say that my grade team in particular, because I can't speak for everyone, they make me proud with the work that they are doing right now under my leadership. And they have grown from the beginning of this process to the end, and if you are in the building, you will see that in their display. Thank you for listening.
I would like to add on to what Ms. Dasha just said. At the beginning of this leadership and leading my group, my grade team, it was a task to get them to work with me. It wasn't easy, but as you know, I would encourage them and say, I'm not here to get you, or I'm here for us to collaborate and work together. It's for the best interest of the students. And, I would remind them of that. I would keep checking in with them 2 times a week. And I found out that after a couple of times, I think I wore them down, but they have been working together. I was told to wear them down. And so, at the end of this whole process now, I found that as soon as they see me, they will say, well, we're doing this and we're doing that. So I think it has been an improvement collaboratively.
I would like to add too that they come to you often, just to confirm that what they are doing, it is the right thing to do. And of course, I'm not perfect. If I know it's like, yes, I can confirm that you are doing the right thing, but if I need more support to answer them, I come to my coach and my admin, and they will support me in providing the best possible answers or solutions to whatever questions or problems that they may be having. I'm sorry, I was so relaxed.
Okay. Professor Smith, I'm going to add on to that because I think that my grade team leaders have forgotten something because they're in the mix. And sometimes when you're in the middle of something you don't understand, I have held them extremely accountable for the work that they've done. I've sent out emails and beaten them up on Sunday nights, and you do know, Professor Daniel and I will start having conversations and think of something, and I'll say, oh yes, that's wonderful, and email them, and they respond. And what I started to notice is that they started doing the same things with their teams. When I would attend their team meetings, their team members were being held accountable. And they would come with their folders prepared with the work. As soon as they would show up to a meeting, they would come with their folders and they would have their work. So they held their team members accountable because I was holding them accountable. And they all knew. So when we would have our professional learning meetings and sessions, which I call them sessions, not meetings by the way, on Monday afternoons, they showed up. And as soon as they showed up and we had our connection to content, everyone jumped in, did their work. They weren't fooling around. People were working. They said, oh, well, Ms. Elma's here. And I said, well, what does that mean? They sort of make me feel kind of bad. I'm thinking, well, I'm loose. And they said, well, if Ms. Elma's here. So the accountability increased at an exponential rate. And they did not realize that they were doing that with their team members. So that's something that's a tool.
We learned without even knowing.
Well, right. Thank you.
Professor Daniel has a question.
Leaders to know that would improve your teaching experience.
I'll start with that. For me, I feel like my admin knows me. They know my strengths. They know my weaknesses. Things I need to work on. So the only thing I would feel that I would want them to know is to continue to help me foster my strengths and continue to give me support with professional development on the things that I need work with, and continue to have their doors open. So Ms. Daley and Ms. Bass know I'll just walk right in their room and tell them what I'm feeling or just express how I'm So I just want that to continue so I can grow and continue to be a lifelong learner as a teacher. So that way I can foster that in my students.
I would like to add to what I would like to add on to what Ms. Chatman was just saying, because last night when I was thinking over that exact question, something I couldn't come up with anything, and I said that I would like to say, from the time I was offered a position as a teacher at PS 398, I was never told no if I have a problem. I was told one time that when Ms. Daley's busy, you can't disturb her. And I have never experienced one time going to Ms. Daley, knocking on the door, and if she's busy, I would say, oh, I'll come back. She would say, come, right? And so I would like my admin, my principal and my assistant principal to know, to continue to give me feedback. Ms. Babs give me really good feedback, and she know it can be good, it could be bad, and I will say, oh, thank you. I'm not a person that takes feedback negatively. I take them very seriously, and she likes to say, I like to see when I give you feedback that you work on it right away. So I appreciate that.
That was, but it was pretty much what my colleagues are saying. Like, it's not about something that they can. I mean, we always can grow, but I feel like what they are doing, they can continue to do it, providing us coaching and constant professional development and learning through the literature, because you can always go back to that book. They continue. I would like them to continue to model, because they do a lot of modeling during our PD, so that we can know exactly what we need to do, what it looks like, and then I'm able to take that information and knowledge and then go implement it into my classroom. So please continue to do what you have been doing.
Okay, I would like to piggyback on Ms. Dasha, and like the rest of them said, it's not about what they can do, it's what they're actually doing now. They know my favorite thing is, what is it called, the practice clinic. Oh my goodness, I love the practice clinic, because these two will sit and model exactly how they want it done. It's not just speaking to you, they're showing you exactly, and I am a visual learner. So when I go to the clinic, and they used to, mainly the newer teachers go, but Ms. Bass will tell you, I go every time she has them. Because even though you might have been teaching for years, that's not what you have been doing within those past years. So to just watch them do it. Another thing I love is the high expectations that they have for us, because I came from a mom that you had to have certain expectations. So, not that they're old enough to be my mom, but just that expectation is something that it makes you want to grow. You feel like, oh, I have to do this, because you just want to do better. They put you in a position that you want to do better. I tell Ms. Dasher all the time, and I don't think I've ever said it to any of them, but I said all the time, I've been teaching for years, but working under them was the first time I felt like an educator. So I've been a teacher for years, but I have never felt like an actual educator, and that means a lot to me.
To add on to what Ms. Jones was saying, my favorite thing are the intervisitations. I love that. I love going to other classrooms and seeing teacher best practices. So Ms. Bass and Ms. Daley do a great job of providing support in every area that we need support in. There's nothing I can think of or a problem that I've had that I've brought to their attention, and it's just gone by the wayside. Every problem that we have is always addressed the moment we have it. They're great at providing us support in any area we need it. Student behavior, we have co-teaching experience. It's every area that we need support in. They're just there, which I'm gonna have really. And they have a great, making your teachers feel comfortable and like this is a family, because it is a family. They have a great family and work-life balance. We know that we're here to do a job, and we know that we're here to be professionals, but they do such a great job of just making us feel comfortable.
like to say, I think they've done a great job, superb job of bringing in the right people. There's a lot of new teachers here. You got Miss Mark, who's an amazing art teacher that kids love. Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, hold on. Put on a tremendous show, and the kids learned about stage performance. I remember the kids would get on stage and said, enter stage left, and I'm going stage right, and the kids were like, Mr. McCarthy, you're going the wrong way. He said stage left. Little things like that. Bringing Miss Michaels, amazing teacher, awesome to work with. I love the shows that we put on and the projects, learning. If you would have seen last Multicultural Week that you guys put together, the kids were doing dances that they'd never heard of. I mean, Miss Michaels did the tango. Every kid was in dresses. The boys were in suits with bow ties, moving the tango. It was unbelievable. My kids did the merengue. They're dancing and spinning each other. They had a great time, and they were doing a project from the Miss Powell project. And all of a sudden, I look in the back, and they're singing the Suavemente song in the back. And I'm saying, it's just that culture that they've created, a culture of learning. Walk around our building, all those murals that you see. The kids love it. Look at all those beautiful pictures downstairs that you see. The kids light up. There's me. Look, there's a picture of me out there. That's right. So they've created a culture where kids feel safe, inviting. They want to come here, and I think that is probably the most important. So thank you.
What happens when it's not getting through? What happens when your explicit teaching is falling on the wayside? How have you learned to pivot and shift so that all students are getting what they need?
So I would like to say, when you feel like a student is not actually giving, this is when you turn to your admin, you rely on your colleagues, and you start asking, and Ms. Powell as well, you start asking questions, and you're telling them the steps that you did to see, I did this, but for some reason it's not clicking. So you ask these questions to your colleagues in admin to see if they have ideas, and they could come together, and you come together as a unit to find out what you could do for that one kid or those groups of children. And you try a new strategy that you didn't even think about because your colleague or the admin has come up with it, or Ms. Powell has said, you know what, try this with them. So these are some of the ways that we do come together as a unit in this building as teachers to make sure that we are looking at our children and making sure they're trying to get the very best that we can.
I would like to add to that. I would like to add to that. Being a special ed teacher, I do experience that because my children, when you think that, okay, I'm going to just say it like this and think that they're going to get it, sometimes they will be like, that's a face they will give me, So I know that it's not working. I will try it, go in a different way, say it a different way. Sometimes it's not working. My go-to person is Miss Daley. I would say, Miss Daley, this is what I did. She said, don't come to me without a book and a pen. So I have my book and my pen. I said, I did this, I did that, I did this the next day. What do you think? And she would say, okay, got your pen? Yeah. And then she'd say, if it was me, then I would do this. I would do that. So, those are our resources that we use to meet those needs.
I was just going to say, to answer your question, that I was going to add on to what Ms. Chatman was saying, that if we as a staff don't do anything else, we're going to ask each other questions. Like we're always feeding off of each other positively, and just how we want the kids to collaboratively discuss and meet. Our principals have that same expectation for us. So I think just the chain of it all is like, if I don't understand something, I'm going to go to my grade team leader and then just the rest of the staff, and then I'm going to bring the problem to Ms. Bassett and Stanley. And 100% of the time, I find my solution in that one that I'm trying to find it.
I'm going to have to ask your administrators if you all can come over to Williamsburg.
Ladies?
Okay. So I would say that a core part of that is intentional teaching during RTI. So when we realize that a student is having a certain issue in a specific area, now I'm going to focus on my small group during RTI. What can I do to support? And of course, like my colleague said, I may get my strategies from support from my colleagues and admin and my coach. However, I will use this information to intentionally teach the students the skills that they need to master whatever skill or topic that they are engaged with.
Oh, and I was going to say as well.
I don't know the answer now.
So even like this year, we were doing ELA, and Ms. Bass, my co-teacher, was out for a while, so she came in the classroom and she taught. We did head station teaching, and she was doing so well that she would tell you, I stopped my class. I was like, we're going to look at and we were teaching the same exact thing, but the way she delivered it, and that's one thing that you will find, because that same day, Ms. Bass was on my side helping me, and Ms. Daley was on the other side with the other 5th grade teachers. So they will jump in when you need them anytime, no question actually. What period you need me to come? Do you need me to come today? And that, I really appreciated that.
And I will say that they are so deep that it's so deep that they're like, we prep, lunch, like we're into the lesson. The kids are into the lesson. They're not even thinking about the next thing. And then instead of, it's lunchtime. And then, okay, we're gonna pause, friends, and we will come back to this. So yes, they are always there to support us. I'm sorry, I just jumped in on your conversation.
Oh my I would like to say, I guess, obviously, it will help from administration team as well. But I think that we have our team meetings each week. As a 2nd grade, we meet several times a week, so we're always thinking of having conversations. I was doing this math lesson, this strategy work. What did you do? Oh, we did this. Try using it. Oh, okay, let me try that. So those conversations. And we have our great meetings where all the leaders get together.
Right.
Conversations there, and we talk and we feed off each other. So I think you guys gave us the opportunity to be able to do this, and that's helped. So that answers your question.
Can I add on to that? I just want to add on to my colleague has said about the RTI. RTI, all hands on deck. I'm surprised like the walls are not helping the children. No one is able to do anything during RTI but sit in small group. If a student is in a small group, in your small group, and you see that they're not catching, we do make the group shifts where maybe you can send the kid down to Miss Michael, and she, because she's working on a specific skill that they need. So we could send that child to Miss Michael for that period of time so they could get the prerequisites that they need. So when they come back to your classroom after RTI, they're able to participate in the next skill or the next task that you have for them.
Describe yourself as a teaching professional now in one word.
Confident.
Effective.
Optimistic.
We can hear it.
Optimistic.
Brave.
Encouraging. I feel like I need to change my word. I just want to be honest, I'm having a little trouble because I have more than one word.
Choose one.
I'm going to go with abstract. We'll go with abstract.
Well, I'd like to thank all of my grade team leaders for the work that you've done. You stepped out on faith when I walked into that room and handed you your binders and told you the work was going to be complex. I never said difficult. I said complex. And then said, and you'll do it, and you will be great. And you accomplished it. And we have more work to do. We've just started. And it will be more complex. And you will be great. And so will your teams. I thank our guests for coming this morning, and I thank our guests for being online. I thank Ms. Bass and Ms. Daley, our partners. Professor Daniel, where we are always talking, and we are constantly challenging the Walter Weaver Elementary School community. Whatever we ask them to do, they never say no. they say, okay, we'll get it done. We don't know how, but we'll get it done. So today continues. It is going to be a wonderful day. We now have our student exhibits. Can I say you are in for a treat? Those who are going to be here. There are eggs on the floor. When you go downstairs, please follow the eggs to a wonderful presentation by our second grade students in Mr. McCarthy's room. Then come out because Minecraft is waiting for you. After that, please make sure that you see our pre-K. Get your phones because you must see the QR codes. Use your phone on the QR codes because you then will be entertained by our pre-K children as you look at the exhibits. Do not pass any by. And then we're asking you, we have a drop-a-note box at the end of each. When you have your second floor module and then go down to the first floor modules, our student ambassadors will show you how to walk. Please, we have a drop-a-note box. Our students want you, when you have finished our exhibits, please let them know what you thought. Give some feedback because we are going to build a tree of feedback and it will be in our library. Please, it'll be in our library. Do not pass by. I have students who yesterday said to me, that's me there. Do you see me? I did some hard work. So make sure that you stay and walk through our exhibit. If you cannot stay the whole day, if you can, we will see you back for our student roundtable this afternoon. Thanks so much for coming. This has meant the world to us. Our online guests, thank you so much for being here this morning. This is the first of many exhibit days at the Walter Weaver Elementary School community of critical thinking and learning. Have a wonderful day.